welcome back to Off the Cuff with the Virginia Tech Police Department, our department podcast here. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Michael Johnson, and this is
John Tarter. A plethora of people just call me Tarter. I am a corporal with the Virginia Tech Police Department, and I work in our community services unit. Mike. Last time it was MJ. So MJ, what specifically is your assignment?
So I'm a detective. I work in the investigations unit at the Virginia Tech Police Department, which is going to be pretty applicable to today's topic. Just to recap, the reason why we're doing this podcast is we want to touch on some topics that are relevant to our community here, hopefully relevant to everybody's listening, but really touch on things that's going on in the community that's relevant to our listeners, and something that's been talked about a lot recently, but has been something in our community for a long time is scam or fraud, specifically over the internet, email, social media, that kind of thing. So we want to talk about a little bit about that today.
So what are we seeing? We're going to talk about Virginia Tech scams, and we're going to dabble or touch on off-campus scams. But what kind of exact scams are we facing here at Virginia Tech right now?
Yeah, so to give our listeners a little bit of insight, being in the investigations unit every weekday morning, I work during the week with the rest of our detectives. We sit down at the patrol room table and we read all the reports, so from the day before and the night before. And so I get to look at every single police report made at Virginia Tech, as long as I'm not out on vacation or out sick or anything. If I'm there that morning, then I'm reading it. If I'm not reading it, someone else is. So to kind of give a little overview, things that are really affecting our community right now are the scams that are coming in. Big one is email. So that might look like saying an email in your inbox saying, hey, do you want this internship opportunity? Which is challenging. And I'll zoom out a little bit. The challenging part about a lot of scams is that our students, faculty, staff, everybody in our community might get some legitimate internship opportunities in their email inbox. And it can be a little challenging sometimes to see, okay, this is a scam, this isn't. So something we're seeing a lot right now is, hey, check out this internship, sign up, and it's all virtual, all virtual internship, that kind of thing. And then the hook is that person wants you to start making purchases on behalf of them as part of your internship, which is ends up being a fake job. They might want you to cash some checks and then send on some money. They might want you to purchase some gift cards as part of your job duties, which when we're kind of sitting here out in our nice, calm areas, seems like a very unusual thing to have as a job position. But as someone maybe who doesn't have a whole lot of professional experience, someone who's really, tight on cash as a college student, you might not think of that in the moment. So they're really trying to get this job, and then it ends up that check that you were asked to cash was fake, and that money you sent on is now lost. Those gift cards that you sent are now lost, and you're not going to be reimbursed from that. So you've been scammed on that.
Well, what makes people buy into the fraud? I've heard that the emails look very legitimate, right?
Yeah,
they look like they're coming from a professor or from Virginia Tech itself. Are they able to spoof email addresses?
Yeah, something that's challenging is people they want to look at something and say, okay, I know if this is from Bob at suspicious.com, I'm not going to click on that. But it's challenging because it's coming from a .vt.edu email address, and that can happen two different ways. One, people can kind of fake or spoof an email address, or two, someone in the community might not be quite as careful as they should be with their logins, with their email information, and that email might be compromised. It might be a real Virginia Tech email, but it's compromised by a criminal to then use to send out to their club listserv, their department, their student contact list, and that kind of thing. So it does these may come from .vt.edu emails, but you still got to be careful about something that's looking suspicious like that, even if it's from a more legitimate domain name there.
In the past, right now, currently, it is still the offer an internship job, offer a job. In the past, I know I've taken some reports where they have pretended to be the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
They have gone to, and they will call or they will email international students at Virginia Tech, and they will threaten. They said that you owe us tax money.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay this, then we're going to send the police to arrest you, that kind of thing. While we don't see that as much as because scammers evolve, right? They do one type and then they do another.
Sure.
Is this, have you had any experience with the IRS or the deportation threats?
Yes, yeah. I've worked some of those, and the ones that's deportation, customs, immigration. Those are the ones that frustrate me the most because I really kind of empathize with the victim there. If you're from a different country, you might not understand U.S. customs, U.S. law enforcement. Might not understand that law enforcement is not going to come to you and demand money in order to avoid charges or deportation. They're just not familiar with our system as much. That really frustrates me that people would choose to target those people, and I empathize with their position where they might not understand. So yeah, those come in our community, the IRS ones. So that's a few that are really specific to Virginia Tech that we're seeing a lot of. But do you know of ones kind of outside the community that might touch on us a little bit, but other places in the country are kind of being affected by different scams that look different?
I think jury duty is one of the ones where, or a relative is in jail for jury duty. I had a friend of mine who recently, he's not in college, but he received a notification that he missed jury duty and that he would have to pay money, a fine, or the police would come arrest him.
Yeah.
And the odd thing about it is he had just received a jury notice, a legitimate one in the mail. So they caught him at that time where he thought, well, did I miss it? They kept him on the phone. I think that's a key with most frauds is they want to keep you on the phone as long as they can. They do their research about, like Virginia Tech. They know where the Kroger is. They know where the banks are, and they'll tell you. And you think, well, they know where these things are. It must be legitimate, right? They know where the Kroger is. They know that I'm supposed to get this card, that kind of thing, to give them the number. For the jury duty thing is when in doubt, first of all, if they try to keep you on the phone with threats and intimidation, then if you hang up the phone and you call the police department, you call a courthouse, and you ask about the jury duty, they can give you information. Or call your parents, call your friends, call your friends in law enforcement. Relatives in jail, a friend of mine that I used to work with, his grandfather got a call a plethora of years ago. And same thing, it sounded on the phone like it was their grandchild that was upset and emotional. And so they did send money to that. And it went out of the country, and it was totally a fraud. Always double check, call your family member, call your other family members to check to see what's going on, kind of thing. Any others that you can think of outside of Virginia Tech?
Those are kind of the big ones, but I like what you said. The common hallmark of almost every single one of those that I've seen is this pressure. They want to keep you active in this, even not on the phone, but by texting. They want you to respond right now, and that's across all of these. The job one, it's like, hey, can you handle the position of this job? I haven't heard from you. Can I trust you with this internship? You need to be moving now. Like you're saying with the getting arrested. You're going to be arrested now. You can't have any time to stop and think and take a breath. And a lot of people I've talked to, they're fallen victim to these. They look back and they said, man, I don't know what I was thinking. They just get caught up in the moment. And these scammers have no life. This is all they do. And they're professionals at it. And they just, keep the pressure on. You're going to be deported. You owe taxes and you're going to jail. You're going to lose your internship. You got to do this now. And the last thing they want you to do, like you're saying, is go talk to someone you trust. Like, hey, does this make sense to you? Hey, Virginia Tech Police non-emergency number. Is your officer really looking for me? Montgomery County Courthouse. Do I really need to go for jury duty? Or even, hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, brother, sister, friend, check this out. Does this job opportunity look legitimate? That's a great tip, and the thing that they want to keep the pressure on, keep you from avoiding doing that.
I remember a plethora of years ago, I took a report from an international student, and he was actually at a Kroger, and he was about to give that gift card number over the phone. And he said, I don't believe you're the police,
Right.
And she made a siren noise verbally made a siren noise, and the person stopped right there.
Right.
And they totally said, I'm being scammed, kind of thing. I would say this, obviously we send out a lot of emails, and we're joking about, we're not joking, but we're talking about emails. We send out emails, we post on social media when these scams happen on Instagram and on Facebook. Well, let's say I make a report that I've been scammed. How does that process go with the Virginia Tech Police Department?
Yeah, so I work on investigating those, and we've evolved our process a little bit recently where this used to be concentrated investigation, but now even our patrol officers will follow up on these. Investigations will follow up. So if this has happened, someone makes a report, then we'll always take the report because the crime has been committed. It will matter a little bit just jurisdictional kind of ideas here. If you're a Virginia Tech student, if you're on campus, that kind of thing, we're looking to help everybody we can. But if you're happen to be up in Northern Virginia, then we might not take that report, might refer you to your agency. But if it's appropriate for Virginia Tech Police, we'll take our report, we'll take the initial. Like I said, we always review those. And I do want to let everybody know that sometimes people fall victim to these scams. They might lose a small amount of money and they're just frustrated and just want to make it reported, but don't necessarily need a whole investigation. That's totally fine. You can make a report to us and you can just say, I just want to make this for your guys' awareness, for information, and there's no need to investigate further. And we'll take that report for information. We won't move on it, and that's totally fine. You can definitely don't feel like you need to make a whole big case that you're going to need to go to court for and all that. If you just want to make an information report, you can just say, just for information, don't need to investigate further. But if we're going to do any further investigation, what it looks like from there is we're going to gather information about, okay, so, who were you interacting with that of? What was this phone number, email, social media account, PayPal account? Who did you send money to and all that? And then in the United States, we have the opportunity to any of these US based companies, we can serve legal process to them. That might look a little different based on the context of what happened. It might be a search warrant, a court order, a subpoena that we as the police will apply to. We'll ask the judicial system for that process. So then we go to that company and say, hey, we have this legal demand. And all of the companies, they don't want anybody to be scammed on their platforms. They work well as long as we've got our paperwork, as long as we're following due process and respecting people's rights. They're 100% cooperative. Unfortunately, the paperwork can take some time. Sometimes that can be a little frustrating for people. And when I say some time, I mean weeks to possibly even months to submit and get results back. And then we'll be able to see some information about who's running this account and that. I'll be honest, the biggest kind of roadblock for us, the biggest challenge is when we get some information back from these companies and find out that the money or the person who's operating the account is located in a different country. That's a challenge. It's not an insurmountable challenge. There's other things we can do to work on that. But a lot of times we won't be able to investigate a whole lot further if someone's in a different country. But if they are something we can act on, we do investigate these cases. We do take it, seriously. And I'll give a shout out recently to our day shift. A shift did some great work where they took a report, they investigated it thoroughly, and an officer was able to confront the suspect and identify the person and hold them responsible, place some charges for scamming people. That was clearly they were just defrauding someone in what kind of a similar one to one that we talked about. Charges are pending, so we can't go into it, but shout out to them. If we are able to hold people accountable for this, we will. And that was within the last month that they did that.
I thought of while you were talking, I thought about one of the scams that we didn't mention was football tickets.
Yeah.
So whether any sporting events, they will advertise these tickets. And what they do their homework, right? Mm-hmm. And so you might say, well, how did it prove to me that you're a student? And maybe you have information on a student and you're not from around here, and then you double check that information online and you're like, well, they must be legitimate. But a lot of Hokies get scammed out of football tickets and sporting events. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. Well, what about what is the IC3.gov process?
Yeah, we made some notes here about that. So something I said is that it could be a big challenge if the suspect is in a different country, but because as the Virginia Tech Police Department, we don't really have the ability to work with other countries' law enforcement, but the federal government does. So IC3.gov is something set up by the federal law enforcement agencies to kind of be the central place to report all of this. So if you're sitting here and you're wanting to make a report and you're like, man, do I go to Virginia Tech Police, local law enforcement? We're happy to take the report, but alternatively, or in addition, us and them, you can go to ic3.gov. That's the letter I, letter C, number 3.gov, and just Google it. And that's a place where you can report to federal law enforcement. And speaking just honestly, even the federal law enforcement only has so many resources. They can't super thoroughly investigate every single fraud that comes across, but it still can be useful for them because they can collect data, identify trends, and see maybe one person, maybe one group of people are doing the same thing over and over and over again. And while they might not be able to investigate your $50 loss, if a lot of people are suffering the same loss in the same way, they can aggregate that and maybe take some action, even if the person's in another country. So ic3.gov is another great resource that you can choose to report that there. And it's a pretty simple form. You just fill out online. You can attach any documents and that kind of thing.
if let's say again, if you didn't give any money, but you want to let Virginia Tech Police know about that you might have received a scam, then you could call 540-231-6411 for basic information.
Yep.
But to get a police officer to come and let's say you are a victim of a scam, what number could you call non-emergency to get a police officer? Is that 540-382-4343 number?
Yeah, that's our central dispatch. We are dispatched centrally throughout Montgomery County. That's another great topic we might touch on, explain a little bit of our dispatch system. So that second number, or if you really just can't remember these numbers, that first one's fine. Man, I can't remember on these phone numbers they're talking about. Virginia Tech Police Department. You can just Google it, and our contact information is pretty easy to find, and we can take those reports.
I think other podcasts we might touch on the current scam of the week or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the MJ's Legal Corner segment. Last time you talked about, what did you talk about last time? Traffic safety?
Yeah, bicycles, traffic safety. So welcome to MJ's Legal Corner once again. I figured, that's a pretty important topic to us these days. We're really trying to make sure everybody's safe on the road. It's one way that people get injured at Virginia Tech, and we hate that and really want to make sure everybody's safe. So let me touch on another one here. Traffic safety here. Something that unfortunately a lot of people, students, even parents, staff kind of fall victim to is get a little impatient and kind of stop on the road to take care of dropping someone, picking someone up. So let me drop the law here. Virginia Code 462888, stopping on highways. No person shall stop a vehicle in such a manner as to impede or render dangerous the use of the highway by others, except in the case of emergency, an accident, or mechanical breakdown. So let's say, okay, this is non-emergency. You're not breaking down, not in a crash. If you're in a crash and anybody's hurt, you just stop where you are. Fender bender, you can pull off into a parking lot. But separate from that, let's talk about some areas. College Avenue, near the bars. People want to pick up their buddy. That's responsible, good, sober driver. But you need to just go ahead and pull into the parking lot. Drop someone off for class real quick, Stanger or West Campus. You need to just go ahead and pull into the parking lot there for two reasons. One, if you're stopping in the middle of the road, even to drop off your buddy real quick, let's think about it. It's pretty inconsiderate to everybody behind you. You're kind of saying, hey, my business is more important than everybody who's stuck behind me. I'm just going to stop here. But two, people aren't expecting you to be stopping when there's no pedestrians or traffic. And that's a great way to get in a fender bender rear-ended. And then your buddy ain't getting to class. Everybody's day is ruined for the next hour.
You might not even notice. You might say, well, the car behind me stopped or the car behind that. But especially on West Campus, you have a lot of cars that might have to stop, and you might not even notice that you caused a traffic crash by your unlawful stopping, and it is against the law, correct? Traffic infraction.
Yeah, no, I will say I've personally written people a ticket for this, and I'm sure everybody stuck behind that person was grateful for it because, at Virginia Tech Police Department, we use our discretion, try not just get people in trouble all the time, but this person really stopped for a few minutes, and they got their ticket, so be aware that that's something that could be heading your way. So that's MJ's Legal Corner.
Our last segment of this podcast is the off the cuff segment. So last time I asked you a plethora of questions or to choose, so it's your turn.
Okay, all right, off the cuff, here we go. Basketball or football?
That's a hard one for Virginia Tech, athletics. I'm going to go with football.
Okay.
But that's hard.
All right, summer or winter?
I'm going to go with summer because you can mow grass during the summer, and I like to mow grass.
All right, similar then. Beach or mountains?
Ooh, tough one. I'm going to go with beach.
Okay. Stay in at home for evening, relax, or go out and enjoy a night out?
I'm more of a, stay home kind of thing. It depends on the weather, that kind of thing. But probably in the evening time, I want to stay home.
Okay. All right. Then let's go movie. Let's go, let's say, crime thriller or action superhero?
I'm going to go crime thriller. I'm not a big Marvel kind of guy, the superhero movies kind of thing. So I'm going with more crime drama.
All right. And then we'll round it out with ice cream or cake.
Let's go cake. Let's go cake. Well, we always want to thank our producer of the show, Jamie, for tolerating us and putting up with us, but also to format the show and work the show. If you need to contact us, how can they contact us about future show information.
Got any tips, feedback, comments, anything like that? Drop us a comment on social media or tarterj@vt.edu. You can shoot an email. But yeah, please let us know your ideas. And thanks as always for listening. We'll see you all next time.
See you next time.